Can people hear me? We're going to start in about 15 minutes. Yeah, I chairs and put it back here. But they did not on the table. The boss was supposed to. So. Yeah. How we did. Yeah, so. Yeah. Every year.
Anyone now? No, just I think that's Colin.
Oh, yeah. So, if no one else volunteers. Everybody apparently, yeah. So the that's right. So very, very small. We got so lucky that we're all different times. So when I think it's help, they were like, actually, so I think our, I could have been over here. All of our I could sit there. You're good, don't worry about it. We got there. We're not there. Picture of like what it means, like crazy. I don't know. That's such a stupid. Yeah, like it's sometimes on CEO. So just like, come on, you thought about it, like. Yeah, we don't even see that. Yeah, it's on because it's more like. I had to put on. Lights not. Work for us. So it's all small. And so this is much like. So let me know. Yeah. Yeah, it's not. It's pretty good. Like a long organ. It's such a big. You would all scratch. You can connect the water. Yeah, it's not happens to you are. It's not very different. So like, so it's not. Cheaper. Well, we're eating. Yeah. Like, we told me, like, to work. Yeah, I do like that. It's just yeah, like I didn't know like no, it's actually started to play. Main reason but like it was like nice. Picking the hands. Sometimes you gotta go to the yeah, you're not because who knows where he can be so it's on. Yeah, everything happens for themselves. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And you know, because you work in education, and then I work through all so yes. What do you want to say? Yeah. It's always so about like that. Yeah. But then we just recently. About 1,000, 1,200 people, something like that. So like, if we got like, we hire someone for like, maybe hire some people. But yeah, so I was involved with the hire process. I bought that. Building this. We're on my street. So that's I'm hoping at some point.
Okay, guys, let's get started here. Awesome, everyone's writing it down.
So. Oh, you've got that. And it's coming from my computer. Okay.
Awesome. So welcome everybody to the Jump IT space. This is our third Macadmin meetup this year for 2024. So that's awesome. Thanks everyone for coming out. For those that don't know me, my name is Jim. I'm one of the admins here, along with Adam, Nathan over there, and David, and over here somewhere. I saw him. There we go. Are we missing anybody from who's here for our admin team?
No, I think that's everyone here.
That's everyone who's here, yeah. So we have a couple of good things to do today. We're going to be talking about really change management and automation of workflows. We had a presenter that backed out last minute. I think we're still going to be okay. But we'll go through this and hopefully we'll have a good time. Before we get started, I'd just like to introduce Tim here. He's going to just welcome you to the space for Jump.
Welcome everybody. I'm Tim Waring, the new executive chairman of Jump IT. I've been on 6 weeks now. 6 weeks now. We'll play my figure. I have to open the door, but I don't think so. My other role is father of chef who makes the desserts. So I'm great to have all of you here. We love you space. We love sharing all this information. I'm looking for tonight as well. And I hope you enjoy it. The one thing I will say, if anybody needs to go to the washroom, we have to take up a little spiral staircase through the back room. Designed as a store, not a conference center. But any of the Jump folks can take you along up there and make sure we get in and out without any problem. So I'm going to leave that over to you. Have a wonderful evening, and Jim, all yours.
Perfect. Thanks, Tim. You have the Google presentation that you can bring up?
No, I didn't download that, but I can
open it
probably
right
find it. And you can all watch me.
Yeah. Just going to bring up our presentation that we usually have.
Hey, found
Awesome.
it.
So yeah, our group here, Toronto Macadmins.
Hold on just one second. I'm going to share my screen so that people watching online can see as well.
Next one.
All right.
Awesome. So just a reminder, we do have our YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please go and subscribe to it. Earlier today, if you've subscribed to the YouTube channel, I actually got a pop-up in my YouTube saying that this event was scheduled for 7 o'clock tonight. So do it. If you can't attend, you can at least watch on YouTube with the live streams. We are attempting to do every meetup we can with live streams. Audio and video sometimes are a little bit of a challenge depending on the space and the quality of Wi-Fi and the equipment we have, but we're going to try to YouTube them all and live stream them. Even after, if the live stream doesn't work, we're going to record them, and we've been posting them on YouTube anyway, so you can get that afterwards.
Oh, more?
Yep, next one.
There we go.
So again, a big thank you to the people here at Jump, for Joe and Melinda, for hosting us and getting us all into this space. So I think we have some great food here, and the space has worked out well for us. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. Agenda. So again, we welcome code of conduct. We just want everyone to respect each other. Nothing, no surprises there. We always like to ask if anyone is aware of anyone who's hiring. So if you know anyone right now that's hiring or whatnot, raise your hand, speak up, let us know who's hiring. Anybody?
Oh, go ahead.
1Password, we're looking for a senior IT analyst.
Awesome. And what's that role do?
We've recently set up IT came in with 3 different teams. One of those teams is support. So that's ad hoc support that's dealing with all the ticketing issues that we may be dealing with. So automations, efficiency, coverage, canned responses, automations for provisioning, tying it into Okta, and dealing with a modern ticketing system. So we're looking for someone who has a passion in that and who wants to be able to make real change to something that's growing very quickly.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Well, I was going to mention, I didn't see you were here, that 1Password is also hiring an IT manager, right?
Yes, we're also hiring an IT manager for the engineering portion. These are the folks that deal with all the Okta stuff, all the identity management, all the API connectors, more technical side for sure.
Anyone else? Tim?
Hey, jump IT, we are just starting the process to recruit a senior sales leader to lead our overall corporate sales and professional services group.
Wicked. Awesome. Anyone else? Doesn't have to be your company. If you've heard other companies that you know of that are hiring. No? Okay, good. Next thing on the list, Luma for invites. So we tried this meetup to use a new open source system that one of our teammates, Dimitri, recommended, which was Luma. I just wanted to gauge everyone's feedback and using the app. Was it good? Was it a good experience? Any comments on using Luma? Yeah, thumbs up, couple thumbs up. No real problems. It was pretty easy. The app worked well. So all that, so you're happy if we continue to use this? The reason I ask is because Luma really has been free for us for the quantity of people that we have in the number of meetups, whereas Eventbrite was a limit of 25. So we could never see past how many people would respond to an event. With the Luma, we could have up to 100 people, which we never get close to anyways at this point. So if that works, we'll keep using that. I think the team is okay with using that. We got a good experience with setting that up as well. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. So we're going to move on to our first presenter, which is going to be Adam up here, and he's going to talk about Okta workflows for Mac admins. And then we'll talk, Colin is going to talk a little bit about some other automations. And at the end, I was going to do a little bit of a group discussion about Apple Vision Pro. I was there this week for the Apple executive briefing. I thought I'd talk a little bit about that and maybe get some feedback from people of where you might see what businesses Apple Vision Pro might work in. It's a good little exercise, and I want to record that and then take some of the suggestions back to Apple. So pass it over to Adam. And
Awesome. Where am I going to start? I guess Keynote, right? There we go. I need volume. So I am going to be talking about Okta workflows to manage Macs. I'm Adam Anklewicz. I am the manager of IT endpoint engineering at Thumbtack. We manage a lot of Macs, close to 1,000, and Windows devices, Chromebooks, and Linux devices. We use Okta at Thumbtack, and because of that, it comes with Okta Workflows, which is an automation tool that allows you to do some really cool things, such as it eases our onboarding, offboarding flow. So if someone's offboarded, then it disables their accounts in Google, disables their account in Okta, so on and so forth. So I'm going to be looking more as a lens from managing Macs through it. But I will say that just because I'm talking about Okta workflows, a lot of these concepts work with other tools. We were using Better Cloud and then realized that we had the license for Okta workflows, so why not just use that instead? Claris Connect, if you're in education, I know in the States, they give all schools who have an Apple School Manager account a free copy of Claris Connect. Back when I was still working at a school, though, they said that it wasn't ready for Canadians yet because their system couldn't handle our postal codes or something yet. And they kept on promising it would happen in the next couple months. I can't speak to whether or not it ever actually did happen. So if anyone who knows Claris can tell us whether or not it works or it's free for schools, That's a cool little trick. As for the systems I'm using, for the MDM, the examples are going to be Jamf because that's the tool I've got. And we're going to do a couple things. It depends on how quickly we get through it, but probably with Jira and a couple other tools. And basically, it can work with any tool you've got as long as it's got a feature-rich API. So that's where it does fall down. So if you're using an MDM that doesn't have a very good API, then none of this will work. But if you're using Jamf or Kanji or something like Zentral, they'll all work for this because of their really good APIs. So for setup, we're going to need to do a few things. We're going to need to connect to the MDM. We're going to need to connect to SOFA, which I'm going to explain what that is in a bit. And we're going to need to connect to the ticketing system that we're using, in this case, Jira. What's not in scope is building a connector for an app that doesn't exist in there already, but you can. So as an example of that, we were using, what's the name of that asset management system? It is, sorry? Nope. Nope. Oh my God, why can't I use it so often? Umnitsa. So it wasn't in there, so I built a connector for it. It was more work than we have time to go through right now, but it wasn't very difficult. So you can build those connectors. The other thing not in scope is Slack integration, because I don't have a fake Slack instance that I can do this with. But it's really easy to hook up, and Slack is already in Okta workflows. So to do it, you basically go into Okta workflows and you go into connections, and you can click on the big blue new connection button. And with Jamf Pro, you just fill in the username and password in your instance ID or URL, and that will get that up and running. It's really that simple. But Jamf has two APIs, so you also need to do the classic API one. And for some odd reason, they changed the username and password field around between the two instances, but it's the same username and password. SOFA is just a regular API connection. There's no authentication. So it's pretty straightforward. You just really give it a name and tell it its auth type is none. And then Jira, you do the same thing. You have to put in the username, you have to put in the API token, the subdomain, and the domain. So the workflows we're going to go through. The first one is going to be MDM renewal bot, which what that does is it sends the command to the computer to get a new MDM certificate from the device. A macOS compliance spreadsheet. So it's going to look and see, okay, what devices are in compliance, what devices are out of compliance. And then it's going to make a little spreadsheet so that you can see the chart. And I just realized I don't have my notes that I'm definitely going to need when I start going through this. Then a compliance policy smart group. Did I leave that not here? Ooh, this is going to be fun. I don't think I brought it. All right, we're doing it without notes. Flying by the seat of our pants. All right. The compliance policy smart groups is basically, this is the version that's compliant. Create a smart group in Jamf that is all the devices that are compliant with it. And then also do the same for devices that are not compliant. And then using SOFA, because SOFA is a way to go and show you what is going on, what the latest version of Mac OS is. You can use that to go and say, okay, what devices are compatible with the latest OS? And then you can go and create a ticket for any devices that aren't compatible, so you know to replace them. And that's something that I just built out for Thumbtack about a week or so ago. Now, I just went through this and it took longer than I expected when I was practicing it. So I don't know if we're going to get to all of them. So I'm going to see how you all feel. If you're bored of me, feel free to let me know. And also, I'm kind of doing this to test it to see if this is a good talk to propose for a conference. So feedback, please. I just want to know. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, and what David said for those who are streaming is he was saying, is feedback live okay? And I'm going to try to remember to get someone with a mic if you're going to ask a question. So for the MDM renewal bot, the question is what's going to make it run? And in this case, it's going to be on a scheduled run. But Okta workflows can do it for like a webhook happens, it'll run. Something changes in Okta, it runs, and so on and so forth. But we're mostly just going to stick to things that are scheduled runs. We're going to need to create those advanced computer group searches. We're going to find the endpoint that we need to do. We're going to have to run the actual command to Jamf, get that data, parse it, and then we're going to run a helper flow, which is going to format the data and send it to Jamf. So let's get out of here and go to Firefox, which is, that was the test run. Let's do the real one. So this is the interface for a flow. So everything is done with cards. So the first card we need is what's happening. So we're going to say, well, what's happening is a schedule. And we're going to say do this every day at 9 a.m. Pacific, just because that's the default. And that's good enough for what we're doing. While I'm here, I'm also going to tell it to save all the data. And I'm going to put the flow on. And I've got to give it a name. And this one was, what was this? MDM Renewal Bot. That's where we are. This is why I had a notebook. All right. So what we need to do for the MDM renewal bot is remember what's going on with it, which is why I'm going to just open my demo one to take a look there. And so what we need to do first is we're going to go and with this one, and what we need to do is we need to get the actual Jamf endpoint. So how do we know what that is? I really hate the Zoom controls. Go away. So first off, let's log into Jamf. That might be a good starting point. And if you like 1Password, I use it. Great product. All right, so we are in here. So let's go to the API documentation. So there are a few different types. There's the classic API and the Pro API. I think they're planning to phase out the classic API, but they have been for years, so who knows? I think this one is in the Pro one. And basically, you need to send an MDM command. I think it's this one. Yeah, of renew profile. So we can see here what it is. We see the endpoint there, which we can copy. And we can see what information it needs, which is just the UDID from the device. So we need to get all of that. So first off, we have to get the devices that are going to be expiring. So let's create some smart groups or an advanced computer search so that we can figure that out. So no, I didn't want to search. I want to go here and I want to create a new one. So the criteria for this is going to be devices renewal will be in 10 days or less. So let's create that criteria. And profile renewal expiration date. There we go. So choose that. And it is less than 10 days, 11 days away because I want 10 or less. We're going to display because this data gets passed through the API call is the fields that I choose to show. So I'm going to go and I'm going to say the serial number, which should be filed under S. And I want to get information about the user. So I'm going to say their full name, email address, and username. And I'm going to save that. And let's view it. Nothing. So we're going to have to play with this data to mangle it a little bit. So let's go into criteria and say username is a Anklewicz and then I'm going to get a machine to show up. This is the sandbox. That's why there's really nothing in here. But there's my computer. So we have something showing up. Next thing I need is the actual search. So this is search number 3. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to save that in my electronic notes, which is up here. So we found the MDM renewal, but we're going to also need from the classic API, which I think this is not. Is this classic? Yeah, this is classic, the advanced computer search. So we want to get an advanced computer search here to find the actual devices that are in it. So if I go in here and I put in 3 here and say execute, I can see the data that's going to show up, and it's not working because I need to authorize again. Will it authorize? I don't know. Let's try it again. Boop. And advanced computer search, get. Try it out. And execute. There we go. So we can see that it's actually grabbing data, and we're seeing the device that actually shows up. So there's me, and we've got that. So now we know it's working, and we know the endpoint, which I've written down here. It's advanced computer searches, ID, and then the ID. I also put it right here, but I need a bit more because for some odd reason, it doesn't include the JSS resource leading part of it. Boop. There we go. So I'm going to grab that. So what I'm going to, wrong way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a text command because we want to get that data in there. So I'm going to do a text concatenate, which basically takes 2 pieces of text and combines them together. And I'm going to put the first part, which is the endpoint, and then the actual device that I want, or not device, the actual search that I want, which is number 3. Now, the reason I do it this way, you could just put it directly into the next card that we're going to build, but I do it this way so that I can easily find it if I need to change it. And it's just right there. It's just change the 3 to 4 if I ever change that later. I'm also going to customize the output so I can see what it is. And I'm going to say that this is the Jamf endpoint API. Then next, we need to actually do that API call. So I'm going to do an app action now instead of the function. And I'm going to go with the Jamf Pro Classic API. And they give you a lot of stuff built in, but I don't think I've ever used any of the ones that are built in. Almost always have been using the custom API actions, which basically just lets you do any kind of action in the Jamf API. So in this case, we're doing a get. And so I can go back over here and tell it that it is a get and save. And then we need the relative URL, which is this little guy, and it's just drag and drop. And I'm going to hit save, and we can actually run this and see if it's getting the data that we want it to get before we go any further. And it did. That is the device. So let's go back to the flow. And no, I didn't have much notes there. So I'm going to go over here and see what I did next. Yeah, so I need to get the actual data from the Jamf output. So first off, I'm going to rename this just so that I know what it is. And they have a function. They have a handful of functions that are JSON specific. So I'm going to go and say parse the JSON data. I'm going to say use this data. And then I want to get. So what do I want to get is the next question. So I'm going to go into my history and I'm going to look at the last run that I did. And, oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to bring this over to your friend of mine, BBEdit. And this will tell me the data that I'm getting. And so I can choose what data I actually want to get. So everything is under advanced computer search. But what I want to get is mostly the UDID, but I'm going to grab a couple other things just for the fun of it. So it's leveled down through advanced computer search, computers, and then we have the information. So advanced computer search is a container. So we're going to go over here and we're going to do a parse and we're going to put in the advanced computer search. It by default makes it into a text, but we want it to be an object. And now we have things underneath it already. And we're going to do a list. And from here, then I can go and I can grab computers, which once again is going to be an object. And it's a list of multiple things. And then we want to grab the UDID, which is just text. I'm going to grab the name, which once again is just text. I'm going to grab the Jamf ID, and I'm going to grab the serial number. I don't think I actually need to do all these, but why not? And I grab something extra. There we go. Oh, let's delete that. There we go. Okay, so quick look at my cheat sheet, and we just go right into a for each. So one of the cool things about this is that you can get a list of things and then take an action for every single item in the list. And that's called a for each. So I'm going to go into the app, nope, into a function, because this is their built-in functions, and it's a list. And I'm going to go and find for each. And if I go and grab, nope, it won't let me grab computer. So I'm going to grab the advanced computer search, and it wants to grab a helper flow, but I haven't created one yet. So that's not going to work. So let's go and create one. I'm going to go back into my folder here, and I'm going to create a new flow, and I'm going to call this helper, and I'm just going to call it demo one. Save all the data that comes through. Flow goes on, savey. And so last time we told it to be on schedule. This one we're going to say is a helper flow. And we want to create that function, that hierarchy that I just created over here. So, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go and link it to that helper flow. And did I not save it after I told it to be a helper flow? Turns out I didn't. So let's try that again. Choose flow. There we go. And I can hit save. So this side is all done. So from here, oh, and I'm going to grab all of these. So what was it? It was advanced computer search, which is an object. Boop, boop. And object. I don't know if I have to say it's a list, but we're going to say it's a list. We're going to go into computers. And once again, that's a list and an object because it has things inside of it. Grab that UDID, grab the name, grab the ID. Those ones are easy to type. And let's grab the longer one so that I don't make a typo. Let's actually copy and paste. So now that I've got all that, what I can do is I can get that information and then create what I need to create. So first, I need to create the body of the text. And to do that, I need to do a function. And this is going to be a text. And I'm going to concatenate again. So I'm going to go and grab. I saved some data over, so you don't have to watch me finding everything. You only have to watch me find everything a bit. So that's that. And then we actually need the UDID, which I can just drag over. No, I can't. So before I do that, I'm just going to put in some blank text, and we're going to grab the second bit. And sometimes it's handy to screw up so you can see why I'm doing it. So what this is doing is it's building that JSON file that we then need to submit to Jamf, because the body of the call to Jamf will need that so it knows which computer to send. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm saying this UDID, and we need to grab that over here. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to do an object get, and I want the object to be this guy, and then we put in the path. So the path in this case is, I think it's 0 dot computers dot UDID. And let's check our work, because my memory is terrible. I don't know about you folks. And, oh, it just worked here. Why did it just work here? Because I just want computers instead of the extra layer. Sorry? The list is unchecked? Yeah, it is. Oh, good call. So let's do that and change it around. And then I don't even need this. So kill that. And computers, was that capitalized? No. Computers, and you are an object, but not a list. And we're just going to grab the UDID because that's good enough. And now I've got the grabby handle. And so I can just drag it off into that field that I want to do it at. So now I've got the body of the message that I'm ready to send to Jamf. So I now need to go and actually send it off to Jamf using this renew profile command. So, and then you can see here, this is the body that it's expecting. So I'm going to go and over here, add an app action, and we're going to use the Jamf Pro API, and we're going to do a custom API action. And I'm going to screw up on purpose here. So if you're wondering why I did that, that's okay. So unlike before, I'm actually going to go and just put in, oh, there it is. This, I'm not going to bother to concatenate. Is it a put or post or patch? That's a good question, but that's why we have this here. So it is a post. So I'm going to go and I'm going to say post and save, and I'm going to put in that relative URL. And then we have to put the body in, which is this output here. And you'll notice one thing here that wasn't in the other Jamf API call. It wants a bearer token because apparently you need a bearer token when you're using the Pro API. But that's built in. So I just have to add that in between these two cards. And I'm going to go to Pro API and I'm going to generate a bearer token, rar, and go to and grab that and drag it down. And now, in theory, let's go and look at Jamf and look at my device. And it's sitting in my house closed lid. So we're going to see here, there are 11 pending commands. And the most recent is an MDM renewal command from 1147. Let's go and run this and see what happens. So when we run it, we get a little walkthrough as it goes through, and it's populating everything, and we can see all the outputs. So we can see the computer showed up here. It's parsing it. There's the computer. It ran the for each. And if we go here to execution history, we should have it in here, but we don't. So why did that not work? Helper demo 1. That is where we are. So refresh. Nothing in execution history. That's a problem. Womp womp. So, good question. Yeah, I did. Thank you, David. David asked if I saved the helper for those watching at home. So I'm going to try running this, just doing this. Run. And execution history. There we go. So it was just in a mood. UDIDs that were not processed according to Jamf is nothing. So that was the response I got from Jamf. So hopefully that means that all the UDIDs worked. So let's take a look in here. Refresh the screen. Pending commands. Renew. That's still showing at the wrong time. Let's refresh again. All right. Let's cancel that one. Let's try it again. Boop, 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 boop. Refresh. 0 pending. Let's try this one more time. Run. Okay, so that ran. Execution history is still just showing that one. All right, it doesn't like me. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to just try to run this again, as is. Yeah, I got 200, so it should have worked. There it is. No pending. Okay. I don't know what's going on there, but it does work. I promise. Yeah, so when I ran it manually, all I did was I said run what we did last time. So the body it's grabbing. Oh, there's nothing in the body. It's not grabbing the UDID. So the UDID is empty. So that would be the problem. And it's showing up as null. And so did I type in UDIDs properly? So it should be, because this is what I got is just UDID. Nope. Yeah, but that's what you're submitting is you're submitting a list. So yeah, this should be UDIDs. But this is, so let's look at the flow history, execution history, and we can see this is error null testing. Where's UDID? Did I not bring the UDID? Oh, there it is. Okay. So let's try it just doing it manually. It's more fun that way, right? Run. So you shouldn't have to do this manually. But we have one pending command now. And it should renew the profile once that computer gets opened again and connected to the internet. So we're actually using that in production until recently. Basically, we've been finding that Jamf isn't renewing everyone's devices properly. So we're doing this as a way to make sure our devices actually get renewed as a workaround for their system not working properly. If anyone at Jamf is watching, yeah, I believe that. And the only reason we've turned it off is because we're now doing a certificate PKI certificate renewal, which you apparently have to do every 10 years. And they tell you to turn off any workflows that call that specifically. So right now it's turned off and we're doing everyone manually, but it has saved us. And then when things don't work, I created a second workflow, which checked it a couple days later and said, did it work for this device? And then it did a Slack emoji saying a little check box saying that it did run, or if it didn't run properly, it's going to go check our inventory system. And if it was sold, it'll put a little money bag emoji. If it was recycled, it puts a recycled emoji. If we don't know what it is based on that, it just puts a little question mark and opens a ticket in our in Jira. So then we can go and find out what's going on with that device and troubleshoot and figure it out. So that's how this workflow works for us. So that's the first one.
Anybody have any questions before it continues? That's all, because that was a lot.
Yeah.
So basically, you.
Hold on.
You're basically calling an API to see what is going out of whack. Basically, like what's not going to be renewed.
Yeah, so we've got that smart, not smart group. It's the advanced computer search, and
Get the list.
yeah,
And then that list gets sent over to the helper. Right?
Yep.
It goes through and then calls the jet back.
Yep.
Go endpoint, like for each device.
Yep.
Renew.
Exactly. Yeah. Now.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
one more question.
Oh yeah.
Anybody know, or I don't know if you know, can you do a lot of that same API stuff in Intune?
So Intune's API is a bit wonky, I find. It's really designed for PowerShell. So I haven't really figured that out yet, but I believe you can. And the,
If it's in rack, you can, most of the stuff is in rack. And basically you use PowerShell or any REST API to interact.
can you want to repeat that for the people at home?
If what you're looking for to do is in graph, you can use any REST API. Any REST API is relatively robust, it's getting better if you data versus.
Hmm. I haven't played with Graph yet, so I want to do that. And this is a similar workflow. Some of these workflows I really want to bring into Intune.
Do a lot more, Windows workflows. Thinking, but a lot of the data it's still just not. It's not because Windows control has a lot more detail on each device in the background.
Hmm.
Each iteration is different.
So,
I'll add to that question. Anyone know about Kanji Moose Island?
so Kanji has a great API. When I was at Macadmins in PSU, sat in on a kanji session, and I was really impressed at how far their API has gone. Mosul's API, I actually logged into, I'm on the library board for my local town, and I got them set up with Mosul. I have an instance I can log into, and I logged into that to look at their API. It hasn't changed much since I was a Mosul client. And it is not that is one of their biggest weaknesses is their API. And so this kind of stuff I would not suggest doing with that. So now my question for the crowd is, did that bore you? Do you want to move on to the next one, which is the compliance spreadsheet, which is basically going to create a spreadsheet of who's compliant with our policy for OSs, who's not compliant, and then give you a percentage and all that stuff. I got one thumbs up. I've got a.
So just a quick check for time. It's about 7:30. Colin, how much time do you need for your stuff?
Condense it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll do one more.
I'd like to see, because like you probably already built one, right? Like there's one in production.
Yeah.
We can just kind of look at those and you can explain what's going on rather than.
Rather than
I
going
really
through.
appreciated the way you
Yeah.
built it. That I learned so much from that. But now that we kind of like, oh, okay, so I can see what you're doing there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, not yesterday, today I went through this and I was shocked at how long it took me, which is why I'm telling you that we can dip early if you want to. So I actually went through and did all of these earlier today. So the macOS compliance table. So the first part of it was that we had to create a table. And so that's one of the features in Okta workflows. The one I actually have in production, I'm actually going to Google Sheets. Because Google Sheets, then I can share it with our security team. I can create a graph, a pretty graph in there. I actually might have one in my downloads folder. Ignore the red-green image.
Then you can also use Google Sheets and then Google Sheets and export it.
Exactly. Well, it doesn't even export it. It's just an action. Instead of saving to the table, it saves to, yeah. So because it's in Google Sheets, I can get this lovely little chart showing that almost all of our devices are in compliance, except we had a little dip when a new OS came out there. This is where I did want to go. Not this one. Yeah. So I created the table and I put in here devices compliant, devices not compliant, total device count, and percent complete. So basically I created a couple of smart groups in Jamf. So I could show you the smart group version versus the advanced computer search version, but you could do it with either method. And then I created the flow, and it didn't need a helper flow. It grabbed the date. So this is a really cool function that's in Okta workflows is you just run this. It gives you the time right now, and it breaks it down into a few different versions. So you've got just straight date data. You've got a pretty one so that you more human readable, and you can even see just the minute. So it is 30 minutes. It is the 23rd hour. I don't know what time zone you think we're in. Oh, it's just Zulu. So that's GMT. So it's 23:30 in GMT, it's the 14th day, so on and so forth. So with that, I can go and I can grab the date and put it in somewhere. Then once again, I grabbed the API token or the bearer token. I told it which smart groups to get. So there were 2 of them. And I used the endpoint, which is smart computer groups recalculate. So sometimes Jamf gets stuck and it doesn't know all the devices in there. So if you tell it to recalculate, it will do a live update and it will spit out the devices that are in there as of that exact moment. Then I did 2 API calls. One of them was the compliance one, and one of them was the non-compliant ones. Then because of that, I had that data. Let's actually go into execution history so you can see with the data in there. And basically it's just saying the count is 2. It doesn't actually give you the computers. All it gives you is the count. So my apologies for saying it gives you the computers. Then I'm saying get the objects. What is count? So I'm looking at it, I'm saying this is a JSON object. It's count, but I want to know actually just count. So it just gives 2. I do it for both of them. And then I do the simple thing of adding those 2 together, and that tells me how many computers I have in total. I then divide the 2 by the total computers, and that gives me 100%. And then I can do the table, create a row, and then it asks me what fields I want to put in. So I can say the date, the compliance number, the non-compliance number, the device total, and the percentage. And basically then I just have a quick list that I can graph and I can see over time how our compliance is going. And that's really handy. And every once in a while, my security team will ask me, so how compliant are our Macs? And I can just say, here's the link. You asked me this a month ago and I sent you this link then. And then I just keep on sending it to them. It is really handy. And in addition to that, you get that pretty graph that you don't see. Right now, my next plan is to get rid of this though, because now we've got a SIM that I want to connect to Jamf. And so once I've got that going, I can then do it in the SIM. But this was a nice little stopgap for the past few months to get us there until we were ready to put Jamf into the SIM. Any questions on that one? And since that was pretty quick, we can go through to the next one, I think. Awesome. Oh, in the back. Okay, so that's the thing. So that is compliance against our policy. So it is that for us, for how I set it up with this, it was everyone is running who's running macOS 14 or higher is compliant. So I set up a smart group that said that that was the compliance barrier. And actually, my actual one at work is if it's a minor release, you're updated within 2 weeks. If it's a major release, you're updated within 90 days. So that is where our actual compliance numbers come from. And that's just for macOS compliance. So that's a good question. When I created this one, I just set it as 14.0 because the next one is to live update that. So that anytime a new OS comes out, it will update that smart group for you. And so I can show you that one. And that is compliance policy smart group update. Now I deleted those smart groups, so it's not actually going to work if I run it now, but let's go into the execution history and we can see what happened. So the first part was we needed to talk to SOFA. Is anyone not familiar with SOFA? It's a pretty new thing, so I assume that quite a few of you don't know. Show of hands. Yeah, we got a few people who don't know. So SOFA is an open source project by the MacAdmins open source community project. I don't remember what, it's a nonprofit that was set up. It is separate from the MacAdmins Foundation, but it's funded by the MacAdmins Foundation. They have to separate for legal things. And what it is an open source GitHub project in which you get this lovely website. There's the web UI. This lovely website where you can go in and say Sonoma. Oh, that did not load properly. Let's refresh. Well, every once in a while things don't work. So we can go in here and we can see that the latest release info is loading data. but it wouldn't theoretically show that the latest release is 14.6.1. And it would show the date that it was released. It shows all the CVEs. It's really, really cool. And in addition to that, there is a JSON feed, which, let's look at the raw data, is a lot of data. So let's actually go into the pretty view, and we can see OS versions, and we can see the latest is 14.6.1, and it was released on August 14th. I doubt you can read what it says there. Can you zoom in on it? Oh, yeah, you can. There we go. So this gives you all that cool information, and so we can now utilize it. Now, one thing I will say is that the open source group has suggested that people don't use the actual one that they've got hosted and instead self-host it. So they've got instructions on how to do that. You can spin up your own version, and then it will pull the data. It'll run through a GitHub action. And that's actually what I'm doing at Thumbtack. But for this demo, I'm using the open version just because I'm not doing a few million calls a day. And I figured that they're going to be okay with that. So I need to go to it and get this JSON feed, which is in here. They also request that you do it as a zip, because if you don't, it again uses a lot of bandwidth, and they're trying to save bandwidth because they're having to pay for it, and they're a nonprofit. So it's going to give you all of that data that we just saw, this huge JSON file. So we need to parse this, and we need to get the info that we actually want, which is, as we said before, OS versions, latest, release date, and product version are the most important parts. So we're using the object get function, and we're saying get the first item, so 0, in latest with the key of product version. And it did that, and it said, okay, that's 14.6.1. And then we're going to do the same for release date, and it's saying it's August 7th. So we've got that data here ready to go. So now we can go and we can get those Jamf groups, and we're going to call them, and we're going to say, hey, let's look at this Jamf group and give us all the information about it. And it's going to say, okay, well, it's a smart group, and here's the criteria. So currently the value is 14.0. So the operating system version is 14.0 or greater than or equal to. And we're going to take that information and we're going to say, we're going to get that specific key, and it gives us 14.0. So then what we can do is we can do a funky thing, which is continue if. So if it was saying 14.6.1, it would know that there's nothing to update. So it'll stop. But because it's not equal, it's going to continue. And what it's going to do is it's now going to do another API call for the non-compliant group so that it has that device's information. So instead of being greater than or equal to 14.0, it is less than. So now we have to do a lot of fun stuff. And that is we need to clean up the data to get it ready for Jamf. So there is a lot of unsetting. So we just say, don't give us the computers because we're going to send this back and it's a smart group. We don't want to tell it the computers. We just want to tell it the criteria. So screw that, get rid of it. And we're going to do it for both. And we're going to double up everything because there's two groups that we want to do. So we're going to unset that. We're going to unset the criteria because we need to start from scratch because that's just Jamf. Actually, I think it's Okta workflows in that instance. So then we have to rebuild it. So we're going to say object set, and then we're going to say what the key is. So computer groups criteria size with a value of 1. And we're going to go through and we're going to go through every single key there and we're going to reset it. So operating system version, we're going to create, what is this one? Priority, we don't really care about priority, but I don't know if you need it or not. What the actual, whether it's an and or, because you saw before I did an or, so you need to specify whether it's an and or an or. What the operator is, whether it's greater than or equal to, in this case for the better, the compliant, or less than for the non-compliant. The version number, which we're pulling the actual version that we got from SOFA. So we don't have to go in and type this every time, because that's the whole point of it. then it's got, we have to deal with the opening parentheses and the closing parentheses. And eventually what you're gonna end up with is an output that looks like this, which is pretty much what we got before, but without the computers. And you can see here, here are all the criteria, and it is so small. So I'm going to go over to here. Can anyone read this? Is it way too small? It's way too small. So it's basically you're getting the JSON file that the body that you need to then send up. From there, we still need to do some other things, like we need to get the title for the group. So in this case, I want to say macOS compliant, 14.6.1 or later, or macOS non-compliant less than 14.6.1. So we're just auto building even the title. We don't need to worry about changing that ourselves manually. Then it's going to set that with the name of the group. And then finally, what we need to do is we need to, it does a weird thing when you do a building of an XML file, because Jamf wants it as an XML, not a JSON. You have to tell it the root name. But the problem is the root name's already in there as computer group. So I had to actually just get all the contents of computer group, spit it in here in the area of computer group. And then once I've got that XML that we've built, which is here, I can then ship it off to Jamf with that relative URL we were doing before, the body that we had just built, that XML, and it ships it off, it updates it, and it tells us that it's been updated. And so now I always have a smart group, which is devices that are compliant with our macOS policies, devices that are non-compliant with our macOS policy. And if you add more complexity to this, I'm not going to answer on behalf of the store, even though the phone just rang. Also, part of me wants to go carbon computing, Adam speaking, which was when I used to work at a place like this, that was that. Anyway, basically, I just have this auto creating, and you can add the more complexity, which we have, which is, okay, is it a minor release? Let's use that release date and say that release date plus 14 days. And I can just have it do that math for me. And then, well, has it been 14 days yet? Nope, I'm not going to update it. Yes, I will update it. And then I also added more complexity of, okay, so we have to update the 90 days for a major release, but we still want our minor releases to be updated with any bug fixes. So we don't want to keep it at that, or sorry, we don't want to say just 90 days up to X version. And so I've got a workflow that basically is what is compliant when the old version, what's compliant in the new version until it hits that 90 days. And then the only thing compliant is new version. Yeah, let's get you a mic though.
Right, yeah. I was just gonna say, so prior to this, were you always going into Jamf and then having to update the start groups manually?
Yep.
And now you've completely automated making sure that the latest macOS version or whatever the settings you want is set in that group, and then you can use that for.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, before I was just doing that, like, oh, there's no update up. Okay. I'm going to put on my calendar 14 days to go and update this playlist. And, or not playlist, smart group. And it was a pain, but it wasn't that bad because Apple doesn't release that often. But I'm like, got this tool, let's just use it. So, yeah.
The new group, or is it just updating the smart group?
It's just updating the existing smart group. So yeah, I have that on my dashboard and it stays on my dashboard because it's the same one.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last one, let's see if I can power through that one quickly. Is so this one is is using a computer search, which is going to go and say grab the computer search one. And what it's basically doing, sorry, I should caveat this. what I was doing is I created an extension attribute in Jamf, or it's a custom command in Mosel that you can save. And what that allows you to do is save extra data about the computer. You run a script, its output is what is stored in there. So I created one using a script, and by created, I just put it in there, using this script, which is part of SOFA, which basically what it does is it has the computer go check SOFA. It says, hey, what am I compatible with the latest version of Mac OS? And it just replies true or false. And there it is. Oh, sorry, pass or fail. And this is open source. This is on the SOFA site. It's really cool. Once again, spin up your own SOFA so you don't have your devices calling it all the time. But yeah, it's really awesome. And so now I have this extension attribute of true or false, or pass or fail. And I could then create a smart computer group of all the devices that have failed. And I can go and say, let's create a ticket for all of those devices. So I went through, and it's going to go and contact that group, and it's going to get all of them. It's going to see how many devices are in that list. And then it's going to say, well, continue if it's more than 0. Well, actually, it's if it's not equal to 0. So if it's in negatives, it will probably also continue, and that might be a problem. So that is an error check that you might want to put in. So then it goes to the helper. And for each of those, what it's going to do is it's going to go and grab the serial number, and it's going to write a little blurb that the serial number is not compatible with the latest Mac OS. And that's going to be our ticket title. And then it's going to do a text compose. And the cool thing about text compose is you can do more than just a line of text. You can actually do paragraph breaks, line breaks. So I was able to do this one, which was put in the title, put in the Jamf device ID, put in the serial number, put in the username. It then goes and creates a ticket request. And then it stopped working. And actually, I should have said before, a lot of the stuff are at Thumbtack. We have one of the managers on the systems team, IT systems team, Eric Wooding, is amazing with Okta workflows. And he basically showed me all of this stuff. He's doing all the system stuff. I've been doing all the Mac stuff, but all of it is with him helping me out. And I ran into a problem. So one of the weird things with Jira Service Management in Okta is you can create a request, but all you can really put in is the summary and the description. So what wasn't working yesterday when I was testing it with him was, and this was only because we're in the sandbox instead of a production version, is we then need to go and create another Jira command, which what it would do is it would update that ticket that it just created. So then you can put in a label, you can assign it to someone, you can assign it to a group. And so then it creates this ticket and it spits out and says, hey, there's this ticket for this person. It's assigned to the endpoint team. So go and get them a new computer, basically is what it does. Now, in our production environment, we're doing that, but we're also sending it to a Slack channel. And so we have a Slack chat. It runs twice a week, and it puts it into the Slack channel, says, hey, there are no computers that are non-compliant with the latest version of Mac OS, which hopefully is the case at this point, because they haven't released a new OS in a few months. When 15 comes out, that might change, and then we're going to start getting tickets saying, hey, we need to replace these devices. So we'll go and actually actively replace them to make sure we don't have any devices. Now, you could be proactive about it, and we try to be, and we try to prevent that from ever happening, but stuff slips through the cracks. And so that's the reason why I created this workflow is 15 comes out and suddenly there's this one device that I somehow missed. Now I'm not going to miss it. It's going to get this ticket created automatically. We're going to get a message in Slack. We're all going to see it and we can all take action on it. And most of these things that I've done are all going to an endpoint notifications channel that I've got set up in Slack. So like there I get my auto package notifications, and I use a tool called auto promote, which auto promotes stuff through Monkey, and all the notifications come in there. And then all of these Okta workflow notifications come in there as well. And it's really, really handy. I'm not going to show it to you because it has employee names in it and all that fun stuff. So no, but that is pretty much it. David, let's get you a mic.
Outside of the, I guess, the remain workflow, right?
That's actually a limitation. So creating the helper outside of the workflow is a limitation of Okta workflows.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if you can expand on why, what is it about the limitation?
The limitation is that when you have a list, you can't take action on multiple list items without calling a helper flow.
You have to ship them over, you have to ship the list over to the.
Exactly.
Basically go through.
And you can tell it to run multiple concurrently as well. So you can say run 5, 10, 100 at the same time if it's not going to be, if you're not doing more calls to an API, then yeah, you can just ship that off and say do 100 at once and it'll do it. It's really handy. And then also, we've ran into this problem where if you send a message to Slack, it likes sending it back again and again and again. It sends it about 3 times, unless you do a return and you say, do a raw return, which is just a standard card in here. And I think it is flow control. You just say do a raw return and it returns a 200 code. And then that will send to Slack and say, hey, we're done here. You're good. You don't need to send it again. But the problem is the raw return kills the flow. So if there's anything after that, it's not going to run. So you then ship it off to a helper, run the Slack command and do the raw, and then everything else happens afterwards. So yeah. So that is how I am using Okta workflows at Tech for Mac management. And now, Colin, your turn. Oh, wait, I have one more thing. One more thing. Let's go back here. It's my friend Graham's birthday on Friday. All right. So I'm going to do that.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break, I guess. So grab some drinks, grab some extra food, come back and sit down, and not take too long. If anybody needs a bathroom break, grab one of the jump guys, go upstairs, and we'll see you guys in 5 minutes. Then you can get us set up. Okay, you guys ready to get started? Okay, so we have our next presentation. You guys ready? Okay, Colin, over to you.
All right, thank you. So a few caveats before I get started. One, I did not build my deck in HyperCard like Adam did, so it's not going to look as pretty. And that's a joke for the old guys in the room. I'm one of you. Also, I don't have like too many sandbox environments, so tried to build my deck just with like videos and screenshots instead of doing anything kind of live. So since you last saw me, it's been a while. I haven't seen some of you in like a year. It's been a wild year. Some of the reason you haven't seen me in that long, I cut up my PR card. What? So yeah, I did that unfortunately. Why did I do that? Because I'm now one of you. I became a citizen. Right after this photo, and this is not a joke, I took a shot of maple syrup, chugged a Labatt, and ate some poutine. It was fantastic. I did it all while wearing a trapper hat. I think that's what you call it. Yeah, so it's been great. A few things about me. I work at Rapbook, so I'm the senior IT manager there. And I'll share. Here we go. I started in 2021. The company started in 2018. In that time, so I've been there since 2021. 3 years, we've gone from 30 employees to 250, about 260 actually this week. We're an IT team of 2. Yes, we're an IT team of 2. And that's why I'm talking about doing more with less. We're also SOC 1 and 2 compliance. And at the end of the day, we are like a payroll fintech company. So we automate and modernize the payroll for film industry. So photo shoots, commercial video shoots, working our way up to enterprise level studios and things like that. So a lot of good data, fun data that comes through our devices. So big question, how do we hypergrow? And that question was best responded to in a podcast I once heard about finding your time versus funding your time. It's basically build versus buy for your personal life. If I had all the time in the world, could rely on some open source tools and community built tools, but I unfortunately just don't have the time. So I had to spend it and buy tools that do it for me. So I'm going to talk about 3 that have really done that well for me. A side note there, I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. I've not been sent swag from any of these companies. These are just really great tools that have like helped my life. So let's talk about them. So I joined the company, talked about our basic needs. We need device management. Obviously, everybody needs that, especially in an environment where you want to be SOC compliant. It's just a must-have. We also wanted single sign-on. That was great. That was one of the things on my list to do as soon as I joined. Little did I know what wonderful things were in store for me there. And then a ticketing system. Got to centralize the requests. It was kind of the Wild West when I joined when it comes to getting access to anything, requesting anything from anybody. There's 30 people. You have to ask all 30 of them for some things. So we started with Jamf, we started with Okta, we started with just a Slack channel for our ticketing system. And then we moved on. So we needed to get a little bit deeper. For device management, we needed some third-party patch management because we needed to make sure all the third-party software that people are installing on their computers is up to date and secure. Don't want any, 0 days, et cetera, on our computers. For single sign-on, we wanted to do device compliance. Those of you familiar with Okta, there's Okta Device Trust and the Okta Verify app, which is great, but it has some limitations. And then our ticketing system, we found over the past 3 years, half of our tickets are, can I have access to this? We have like 160 to 180 SaaS titles in our belt. At one time, the amount of employees like matched the number of software titles we had. And it's a lot. So I'll get to that. First thing here, third-party patch management options. There's Monkey. There's Jamf patch management, which is lacking, as I think we all are very well aware. Jamf, if you're watching this. And then there's one that I found out through the community called Electronic Patch. Is anybody familiar with Electronic Patch at all? Such a lifesaver. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So this is a video that I made. There's a couple different ways you can access or interact with a patch binary. One of them is through the command line. It's probably my least used way of using patch, but it really comes in handy if you're like on a Zoom call with someone and you're like, hey, let's force update one password because it's not working, you know. No offense to the one password folks that are here. There should be audio. Basically what I'm doing, Electronic Patch installs a binary. You can throw commands at it like sudo patch install bbedit. That's the one I did for the purposes of this demo. It pulls directly from the CDN of bbedit, the most up-to-date version of that application, pretty much, you know, in 20 seconds. All I had to do was throw that command at it. Sorry, shouldn't say that. All I had to do was in enrollment, install the patch binary, then throw that command at it. The binary is super easy to install. It's basically done right away.
A question for you, is that like homebrew, similar to homebrew?
In its own way. There's a few differences that I'll, like major differences that I'll talk about on the next few slides. But that's its own binary that you can do it.
Install it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry?
What did they wrote the patch binary?
Don't know. Ricky. What? There we go.
How many titles are there in the patch binary?
It's growing like every day, and you can actually directly request a new title from them, like in their Slack channel.
Yeah.
And they'll have it up by the end of the day. Patch was built by Electronic, who's an MSP. You might have done your Jamf certifications with them. They actually ran my 200 course, and they're very great, and that's why they build tools like this. They have a desktop app. Desktop app allows you to build profiles and set settings. I think I have the next screen here. So you can set a run interval, so it'll check for any updates to any app you specify. You can also specify all apps. So it'll compare the apps on the computer to all of their, I think it's somewhere between like 300 and 400 now, applications, and update it, pull the most recent update from the CDN, and then update it on the device. What it will do, and I think, yeah, so you see this pop-up window here. If the app is running on the computer, it'll pop up with a window in front of the user and say, do you want to update, or do you want to hold off? Do you want to defer? If the app is not open, it'll just update it for you. So it's done in the background. Nobody even sees anything, but you can rest easy that it's up to date. You can also use scripts to call the patch binary. Super handy for me because I've recently switched from dep notify to set up your Mac, and it's all just done straight through copy paste these scripts, change the what's the word I'm thinking of? Parameter. Thank you. Change the parameter, and it will update or install and or update any application you throw at it. You can get from that desktop application, you can get all the slugs. So the software ID or slug, you just throw it in there, and it's installed. And it basically is set and forget it for your standard set of applications and anything that they have on their computer after day one. This is what you can also customize the notification that pops up to the end user.
So this is what we did for ours. You can make it funny. Most people just find it annoying, but who's going to not find a software update pop up annoying? Yeah.
Did you look at the installer, like when you were shopping for people for sort of like a new patch management workflow? Did you have did you look at that pattern?
I didn't.
This?
No.
Okay. They're almost identical. One's in binary, the other one's in dash. Yeah.
No,
I like this because it's got the content with it.
Yeah.
Can you send multiple commands, like multiple apps at once? Like just one line, like one password file fetch curl, and say do all of them?
You can do like install all of them or update them.
Both?
You can update all of them at once. You can just do sudo patch update all.
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure you can install them all at once. Why do you ask?
I don't know, just one big thing.
So you're using this to also like in the enrollment, you're like installing it after the enroll, like you're running basically a bunch of patch install this, patch install that, and then.
Yeah, so to set up a Mac, the very first thing I do is install the patch binary.
Yeah.
And then every single installation after that is just running the patch install script. Yeah. And it's like a full script, a lot more reliable than just like the sudo commands.
And this comes from the home CDN, right?
Yeah.
No, it comes from all the vendors, their own CDN.
It's pointing back to that, so the same as.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. The reason why they turned it into binary is because, you know what I mean? But let's not go there.
Sorry, I had to take a call, so I might have missed this part. So assuming you need MDM to push the command, right?
Yeah.
Or can you SSH the command to the device if it's on the same network?
If the binary is installed on the device, it's just sudo on the device. So if
would you put in a command to like reference the device, or how does that? So if you think about salt stack on like Linux and stuff, you could actually, it's a full MDM basically command line driven, right? I'm just wondering if you could do that sort of thing with this as well.
Not really.
Okay.
Well, you can do things like, I'm trying to think of a non-one password app to not call out the folks from one password here. Adobe Acrobat. So if Adobe Acrobat, it's not opening, it's broken, something like that. There's also some flags you can attach to it. So force. So force is not going to look at the version that's on the computer. It's not going to care. It's just going to, go nuclear and follow it. So you can fix issues pretty easily like that.
I'm sure it's not the same script, because I'm chatting those guys at Electronic, they're like more than competent to make their own binary.
I hope they don't watch this video. Let me stop sharing audio real quick because I think that's giving some feedback and I don't have any more videos with audio. Next, so device compliance. This one was super important to me because I've had some really bad experiences I worked at a call center once. In the middle of a phone call, I was forced to restart my computer. So you have to tell a customer like, hey, you gotta wait, like my computer's restarting, like the IT team doesn't care about me. You could do nudge. Nudge for me was like a little bit more on the line of like, I kind of want to fund my time a little bit more. Nudge does take some updating on your end. I decided that I did not have the time to do that. So I took a look around. Okta Device Trust is great because Okta Device Trust sends a certificate to your computer from your MDM to attest to the fact that it's enrolled in your MDM. Further than that, I wanted to ensure that things would happen such as my OS is my OS across the fleet is up to date. We were on 42 different versions of Mac OS when I started this project. It was insane. We are now on 1, which is fantastic because of Collide. So Collide is what I chose. What Collide does, it's got an agent that lives on the device, and I'll show you, I've got it installed. It's got a menu item right here. It'll tell you, it runs checks on your computer. And these checks, you can run them on, they're based on OS query, so you can write your own custom checks for the device, but they've got a whole host of existing checks. So things like, is CrowdStrike installed on the computer? Is it enrolled in the proper MDM? Is Firefox up to date? Is Google Chrome up to date? And if it's not, it gatekeeps access to Okta behind those checks and won't allow you to access it until you run those updates. Blaine, I'm telling you, it's fantastic. So where was I? You can run all these checks. You can write your own custom checks. You can do also things like, is the ChatGPT app installed on this computer? If it is, don't allow this person to access Okta. You can also set timelines for these things. So you can give 14 days for someone to update, and they'll get warnings for all of those 14 days that if they don't update by X date, they're going to be blocked from accessing Okta. So when people access Okta on our devices for the first time, we know for a fact that they are on our MDM, they're enrolled in our antivirus, everything's up to date. They don't have the ChatGPT app installed on the computer, because that's another thing I don't have time to dive into. And it's pretty great. And it looks, this is kind of what it looks like. Is that visible? Can you see that?
No. What, so is this the user experience?
This is the end user experience, yeah.
So what does that say?
Oh, well,
Is that the output?
Is this them being blocked from using an application because it didn't meet Elias compliance?
where did that go? Yeah, so you enter your username and password, or you let me take a step back. They recommend, instead of they recommend going passwordless, because this is your MFA. It goes to Collide for the check after you do your passwordless. So Touch ID, then it switches to the MFA, which is the Collide check. Then it'll tell you your device is out of compliance, your device is in compliance, and then go forward.
This is like username and password, MFA, but this is at Okta, and then passes over to Collide.
Yep.
And it just gets stuck in Collide. If it's out of compliance, it doesn't take you over to the Okta dashboard.
Yeah, Collide, you basically install it as an extra authenticator, like in the into Okta.
Right.
So it acts as your MFA instead of
Conditional access, basically.
right.
How are you using the Collide with the patch binary?
Not really using them together,
Not really.
just separate. Yeah. Your wheels are spinning as if there's a thought.
Because Collide allows you to also patch, right? Or not?
As you enforce, but not patch.
Right.
Okay, so it
Does it
just
say
checks
this is how it
checks for compliance, but it doesn't patch. But the patch binary
Right.
will patch.
So Collide will say Chrome's not up to date.
Yeah.
Patch will say update your Chrome.
So if it's not updated, then you have to go to patch client app and then patch it, and then, right?
No, you don't have to do anything in the sorry, I'm thinking through your
You're
question.
auto patching through patch binary.
Right.
That's a good point, because from what I understood, Collide is just sort of friendly way to keep reminding the end user of the set of circumstances in which they would be able to safely continue to use their Mac.
Right.
Your Chrome's not up to date. The problem there, though, is what this gets to is if Chrome needs updating for them to be able to use it at all, who's taking care of that? Where they're non-admins or standard users on the computer, and how quickly can that be done to get them back to work?
Yeah. So they are. I'm going to say some swear words. Everyone in our environment is admins for now.
There's a problem.
I know. It's
But the thing is, it patches automatically because you have patch, you're using patch binary, right?
So no, this is a really good point, because again, we're all relying on MDMs. So we've established the Jamf can't push policy or profile updates, what they're called. All of them have issues with the speed and the cadence and the completion of like patch, software, OS minor, OS major updates. So it's like, is Collide landing the person, and do they not have like a Slack integration too, where the person sort of friendly prompted?
They used to.
This, you should do this. This is not quite clear. You're not up to spec on this. But if it's not happening in the background with the same degree of versions, that can be a low storage.
Yeah. So a couple things there. They don't have Slack integration anymore. That was like their Collide V1.
Right.
But you see this button that says fix this issue. You can put a set of instructions and you can customize them, but it's currently we use it like out of the box. It tells them exactly what they need to do to update. So it does keep it friendly. That's one of the reasons I went with Collide is because it's friendly. I understand that there would totally be collisions if the end user didn't have admin permissions, as an
If they
example.
didn't mean to fix this button, you have that trigger after on a patch?
That's a solid question.
Yeah.
So fix this, just fix it, without them having to follow these steps.
Out of
Fix it.
So you gotta go through MDM to run trigger sudo, right? So you have to go around. I don't think you can trigger from here if it's standard. Yeah, but you can through your MDM.
If I had the time, I would build some such thing. Collide is also the most recent member of the 1Password family, unless there's been any acquisition since, but
And it's no longer available as a standalone.
it isn't?
If you go to their website, it specifically calls it out, that it's no longer available as a standalone.
It's what, sorry?
Oh, because it's part of their extended access management, right? 1Password is in the room with us right now. So that's Collide. I love it. I'll probably hate it if we ever get to a point where we don't have admin permissions for everyone. Sorry for swearing. So that's that one. Next one is access management. So this also touches on like ticketing systems, Slack-based ticketing systems. There was AppSpoke, that's now dead. That's an Okta product. There was Help, which is now dead to me because they moved to Atlassian only and took away their Zendesk integration. So a lot of people I know are like switching off of Help because of that. So they're dead to me. There's another one whose name I forget. They were based out of Hamilton, which is where I live. So that was fantastic. They also got acquired and are now dead. So that left for me Focal. And I've been seeing Focal and chatting with, and it's pronounced Focal, not Focal or Focal, whatever. It's Focal, I promise. The founder, builder, CEO of Focal, Vlad, is very active in the Mac admins community.
Super friendly guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is very open to feedback, responds to questions quickly, and really has built a product that has helped me for the same price as Help do way more. And I think he could charge a lot more. I probably should tell him that, but
That's me on the internet.
that's true. It's not Zendesk Enterprise price. I will say that. And Zendesk, yeah. Zendesk, please lower your prices if you're listening. So as I said earlier, one of the most time intensive things for us was someone requests access to software, right? So, hey, I need access to Adobe Acrobat. Wait for someone from the IT team to respond. As I've said before, we're a bit stretched thin with the size of the company we have and the size of the team that we've got. So you might have to wait a little bit. Once you wait, IT team says, hey, we're going to tag the internal owner of that software for approval. You got to wait for that person to say, okay, I approve. Then you have to wait for IT to see that, add the person. It really just takes a lot of time. And that's half of our tickets. So we wanted to save time. Okta has their own access requests. It's a lot of setup. I did not have time to do all that setup. Focal was so much easier. It took me like, and this is only because we have 180 software titles and I had to map them to 360 different people. But at the end, this is what it looks like. So this is a video demo of what that looks like.
Access to software using.
Oh, this is the one with audio. Oh, sorry. I'm going to have to sound.
access to software using Focal as well as Focal's own approvals app. So here I am. I need access to Adobe Acrobat. I'm going to submit a ticket in Slack. Get a response here. It says, hey, please fill out this form only if you need new software access. Create 1 ticket per software. I'm going to go ahead and fill out this request. Due to Slack limitations, there's only a certain number of titles you can put in a list. So I'm going to say I need Adobe and I need Adobe Acrobat. I'm going to click Save. What that's going to do, you'll see, hey, we've gotten your request for access to Adobe Acrobat, passing it through to the appropriate folks for approval. What that's going to do is going to send an approval request to other member of the IT team. His name is Steven. What that looks like on his end is there's an approvals app that he gets a message in. All he has to do is click yes, and there it goes. And that's recorded as his approval for me to have access. We can do this in multiple layers. We currently, for most software, have 2. We have IT as 1 layer, the second layer, and the first layer is the internal owner of that software. So if someone needs access to Figma, for example, the first request goes to a member of the design team who owns that, and they approve it, then it comes to the IT team. And it looks like this. It's very handy. It saves us a whole bunch of time. There we go.
So that's one of many things that Focal can like automate for us. The next step to this, and you can have as many layers as you want. If you want 5 people to approve something, you can set it up so that there's 5 layers of approval. The next step after this, there's also an Okta integration. So you can actually set it up so that once IT hits approve, it actually adds the person to the appropriate Okta group as well. So if skin provisioning is set up, you're done. Like we've just saved ourselves like 80% of the time that it takes for these kind of tickets, because instead of someone getting a request, looking for the thread, typing out, yes, I approve, they just hit a button, and everybody's used to that because we have other apps that do that. Anybody uses like Airbase or Vendor or anything like that. Those do the same thing. So it just makes it super simple for us.
Access to software.
Does it have a ticketing? Is there a ticketing UI?
There is.
Okay.
I don't have a screenshot that doesn't show a lot of confidential information. But
you use Focal as your ticketing system, right?
yeah, and so I will say, and I've given them this feedback, the one thing that Focal doesn't do yet is give you the ability to start an email-based ticket from their web interface, which means we need to keep Zendesk for certain instances. If they bring in email ticketing fully into Focal, I will stop spending money in Zendesk immediately. But they're also a Zendesk partner. So they interface with Zendesk, they interface with other ticketing tools if you need the full features of those kind of ticketing tools. Yes?
So what's the advantage of this over the Meetup access request?
For me, it was just time. I have played around with Okta access requests, and to set it up for, at least in my experience, 160 different software titles with the like 250 employees that we've got, it would just take a very long time. I don't think it's fully there as far as like the end user experience. I think maybe I care too much about the end user experience, but things like the Zendesk ticketing in Slack is just like not there. It's not great. For me, it was the same way with the Okta access requests. This is just a great in-between, in my opinion.
I think Vlad also makes this product fantastic. It's so fast to respond to things. It takes feedback as well. So, we tried to say, right, we didn't go with it, but it was so quick to respond. any suggestions we had, he was quick to do things, again, so great to work with.
Yeah, and they're, because of the help, the mess that help put themselves in.
Yeah.
A lot of people are looking for alternatives, and Focal, I think, has really stepped up. I just had a chat with their design team a couple days ago, taking feedback and revamping their interface. So I'm excited about it. Just want to give some special shout outs to other things that save time for me. Okta workflows, set up your Mac, Retriever. I was telling Blaine about Retriever earlier. We used to send just a shipping label to our end users and hope that they would send it back. Retriever sends them a box and annoys them to send it back, and our return rate is 100%. And they do US and Canada, which has been super helpful. So
Just US and Canada, not outside US Canada.
I don't think so. I don't think so yet.
We recommendation for outside. What about outside US Canada? Anybody? Suggestion?
Market dependence, like where?
Yeah, my problem was customs, cross-border customs. And since I live in Hamilton, I can drive to Buffalo and ship things from there. And I just don't tell them that I have. Now this is on the internet, so that's great. If we could delete this part, I don't do anything across the border. All handled by customs.
I think Jump Plus ships across the border. Just leave it to Alex to take care of all that.
Wait, is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
We've been shipping cross border almost for a year and a half now.
Yeah.
We ship to any US state, usually within 2 business days. We actually do it for the Bank of Montreal.
Yeah.
We ship back to Chicago.
And you handle customs and everything like that?
Yes, we pre-flight customs.
Whoa. We'll be talking a little bit more in the next couple weeks then.
And with regards to the pickups, we also have a packaged box with bubble wrap. That's the exact configuration of a MacBook. So you can actually send those up directly to customers. And that way, when they ship them back, they're perfectly secure. We're actually FedEx boxes. So they work for Mac.
And I've added another line to my special shout
Are
out.
you saying you're doing retrieval services too?
Yes.
Okay.
Not for a long time. Yeah.
US and Canada?
US and Canada.
Do you have an API?
No.
No.
We have the warehouse. The warehouse manages the entire process. But we recently implemented Snipe IT to do asset warehousing for our customers. So we can actually now capture serial number, devices, descriptions, and then provide potentially an API for you to see those assets remotely and select them if you need to be deployed in Myers. Pretty cool. Have you tried to use Snipe IT?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be talking to you pretty soon. This is great. So yeah, that's everything for me. Big 3 that have saved my life and my time.
Did you touch on pricing for Focal?
Yeah, Focal is $50 an agent. So an agent is someone who replies to tickets. So if I recall, yeah, that's how much help costs, but it's like so much more than help.
50 a month?
50 a month, yeah, sorry. 75 if you want like a quicker SLA per month per agent. But yeah, yes. Sorry, so 67.50 ish.
Or free, right? Or you use what
You gotta pay. It's you have a license, yeah.
Okay. But it's better than Consolidator because of the client and stuff.
Yeah, it's just saving my time, funding my time.
What's the pricing on that? Like, is it just
per device.
Yeah.
And I think they have buckets.
Okay.
The minimum of $249 a month for 100 devices. And I might have looked it up.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's 250 devices.
And it's built by a member of the community. So just like Focal, they're like super responsive. You type in their Slack, like they have their own Slack channel in the Mac admins. You say, can we add this? And they'll either say, yes, it's done, or this is why we can't. Because there's some stuff we just can't do that with.
I'm actually going to ask you to hang on there for my next discussion.
Sure.
You just open up a notepad to take some notes, or freeform. So this week I actually got the opportunity to go to Apple's head office to do the tech briefing on the Apple Vision Pro. So I thought I'd just kind of talk about it since it was just this week and we're here anyways.
Wait, can we do a Zoom whiteboard?
Zoom whiteboard, as long as you can send me the details.
Let's try it.
Okay. You can always copy and paste after, right?
Can you see that?
Yeah. So couple things that I learned. Jump IT, one of the 3 resellers that are going to be reselling it in Canada, right? You're number 1. Insight and CDW, where I work. So 3 people that you can get the Apple Vision Pro in Canada right now. I'm not sure if that's going to be exclusive forever, but for right now, it's only 3 companies that you can get it. I don't know if how much, has anyone did the tech briefing yet? No? Just Alex. So it's very interesting. Unlike other headsets where the headset is the same for pretty much everybody, this one is very much customizable with all the pieces. So I think there was like, and I don't remember the exact number, so Alex, speak up if you remember. The headband, there's about 12 headbands. The lenses, I think there was like 200 different lenses. They have a machine, if you wear glasses or contacts, that will measure your eyes. You have to do the eye and the fitment test before you order. I guess the foam around your eyes, light seal is all customizable too. I think there was like 60 different versions of that. So there's so many components in this unit. It's pretty crazy to see how much Apple has just for the unit itself. The immersiveness in the app is very incredible. So the stuff that you got to see at the WWDC was pretty neat. But when you actually put it on and you use some of the apps that they demo, it's quite incredible. One of the apps that they had us demo was an engineering app for jet engines. So they had us actually stand against the wall. And then they opened the app and it opened up a jet engine in the entire room. And you can basically kind of walk up to it, look in all the crevices and cracks and see the components. And then you can actually walk into the jet engine and look out behind you and the intake and see the components on the inside. So very, very immersive, and it was very, very neat to see. The other thing I noticed with using the Apple Vision Pro was that unlike some of the other ones with games where you can take it off and get a little dizzy, this had 0 effect on you when you took it off. So very, very neat. The immersive environments where you can turn the crown and you can be in the mountains, again, very incredible. Can't say enough good things about it. Alex,
Yeah, I think one thing too about this cool was with the headset is at no point are you totally blocked out. You can still see your surroundings around you. Where traditionally if it was all immersive, you have hit barriers, bumping into people, that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting novel position design.
Speaking of that part as well, if you're using an app and you have the app on it, if someone actually approaches you, once they get up within like a foot or 2 of you, it actually dims the app and the person comes through. It's kind of scary, but it's very neat technology how it detects the person's head and then comes through the app in the Vision Pro. Just trying to think of some of the other really neat things.
Also like the gestures, the gestures are fairly easy to kind of quickly understand, but it's not so it's really touching your fingers, as well as kind of pulling out. Yeah, you see how it's very easy.
Yeah.
Should be.
Um,
Oh, maybe.
For enterprises, businesses, and like some kind of business use. For businesses. Yeah, go ahead.
Just about anybody that puts on a mobile app. Right, to see what the customers will have, because they're eventually gonna want them. Much like they have a phone, they want it on the headset.
Okay, yeah, so what they mentioned was, there's, I think it was 200 apps right now designed for Vision Pro. A lot of the other apps will work, but they don't have the immersiveness yet. That's cool, so I guess everybody will eventually start making things just like they made for iPad and watchOS versions as well. Yeah, keep going, Chris.
They should dog food it in the Apple Store for repairs. Like instead of having to load GSX when you're repairing an iPad, you should wear your Apple Vision Pro and it'll show you the steps to do the repair. 20 geniuses walking around with that thing, that's like a perfect sale.
So that's actually one of the examples, not so much the Apple repair part, but that is one of the things that we talked about as well at Apple, was using it for, they talked about, there's a company, and I forget the name of the company, that does freezer repair. So they're saying instead of having to go and train in an actual freezer that's minus 30 degrees and you can only stay in it for so long, that they could train in the Vision Pro. And then you can be in the freezer for as much time as you need it to be. That's, yeah, it's exactly what a lot of people are thinking for using it for training.
I mean, the freezer might be good, it makes us as the weak ones, so.
Any other sides, Alex?
Yeah, I think the sports broadcasting, you probably saw the demo where they had Messi, that field level, one moves, and it was just, it was like a $3,000 for a ticket. We all kind of want, but can't afford it, and how Apple today has a partnership with MLS and those streaming services. I can't see being that far up to get those specialized cameras at the ground level all across the MLS to like it's just the immersiveness, the quality, the sharpness.
Cool. Keep going. Anything you can think of where you might be using this in a business.
Anyone that deals with landscaping or geography or topology.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, if you're gonna make changes to the land, having it virtual first could set you up to see if you're gonna have flood problems later.
Yeah, that's actually really good because if you watch a lot of home renovation shows, they really sketch
and they show you kind of what your backyard will look like on a piece of paper. But having a landscaper develop it and showcase what your house will look like with the landscape you're gonna add, I think that would be an awesome thing for them. Might be a little bit much for a landscaper to do, but again, very good use of it for sure.
As someone actually with a disability, being able to have a computer without a keyboard and mouse is unbelievably useful. Something where I can control my eyes or the finger movements and vocal, as opposed to having to type for.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that accessibility aspect is what it's exciting.
So one thing I find extremely, you should try to learn how to start deployment, but visually, is you can select apps. Let's say if you're doing development, that dog kind of suspended, and by kind of visually looking at apps, it highlights them. That's actually tracking your eyes. And it's unbelievable how rich and reactive it is. That really.
I mean, I think the keyboard I'm excited about.
Oh, it's massive.
Yeah, this is probably one of the more interesting pieces to this, right? Because they are not selling a VR headset or an AR headset, their own words, but they're selling spatial computing.
Spatial computing.
Right, so now, is the argument, well, pick up an iPad as a 5-year-old, and off you go. But you're saying it took you about an hour to figure out some of that spatial computing interactions?
My son actually did the Vision Pro demo in Chicago. In Chicago. And it's just he's over the top. And I would say even in less time, he was operational.
Yeah.
Working through it, and moving the dog over here, sliding things over there. It was
Yeah, so to your point that you were talking about, we're still describing a lot of just consumable things. Sidelines, MLS matches, just sort of consuming something that looks great in that environment. It's going to be interesting to see if it can truly replace, your computer, your laptop. Could you put the laptop down, not use it for an entire month, and just go with the Vision Pro and get to spatial computing and get email send, messages, Slack, everything else done?
Yeah, for me personally, like after the hour session, I'm happy. I felt it was actually, first off, my forehead was kind of compressed. Carlos is here. Yeah, so Carlos and I did it together, and it's actually like slightly front end. There are different actually things you can do. So we had a traditional one on the back, but the other one. But what I've heard from other people that I think how it's mostly you kind of really kind of handle.
Remember that, and that's one of the questions. Well, I don't know, everyone, my name is Carlos. Some people probably already know me at the top of me or the email. Yeah, we did it. I asked that question to one of the Apple guys. Please tell me, what's the longest you have wearing this device? He was telling me he keeps wearing that and travels across the ocean and whatever. And then he told me that he wear it for what, 6 hours? That's a little bit too much to me. I mean, I think that's too much. We were wearing those stuff for an hour. And well, yeah, maybe we turned it up a little bit too much, maybe, but it's still heavy. So I would say, just like the iPad, the Mini, or just like the other devices, this is the first iteration of the device. So it's more about thinking about the possibilities in the future, because we know it's going to get better. We know for sure this is not like the end result. This is just the first iteration or a product that, to be honest, is pretty powerful, pretty impressive. And one of the things that was most interesting is that they challenge us, why you do this pandemic, challenge us to think about what can we do with it. Not only as the user, as an enterprise, as a company, what can we do, like training, all the stuff, remote, connect people across to points in the globe to work on one stop. Those kind of stuff are there.
Yeah, there's kind of been a silos. There's like a trick. Apple's kind of got like 4 different silos they have been doing. So there's like the training aspect. like you said, if you want to have an engine and repairs visually before you actually step into that kind of understanding. There's medical, so doing surgeries, understanding, training people virtually how to do the surgery or to physically do the surgery, or even collaborate on different surgeries. So there's, from what I see, there's probably 3 or 4 different cycles, and Apple's kind of testing the waters to see kind of which one kind of takes off. But it's definitely very impressive.
Just to reiterate what Carlos said as well, the impression I got from Apple after this is they're not looking at this like a big seller of, they don't figure every company's gonna buy like 100 of these things. They think, you might get 1 or 2, maybe 5. 5 would be a big sell. Part of it. What can you imagine you can do with this? And they want people to develop, companies to develop an app to work with Vision Pro that's super innovative and maybe solves a problem. And then again, version 2, maybe in 2 years will be smaller, lighter. I mean, the technology's there, I think, for them. It's just a matter of developing it, right?
And also the crispness. I think they said it has 2 4K cameras.
Yeah.
On each side of the lens. So the crispness of the you have a panoramic photo of like a mountain in Sweden. You clearly kind of pick on the mountaintop, zoom in, and it's still like super rich, sharp. So it's kind of insane. Like,
when
I've used other headsets and
doesn't compare.
It's like it doesn't even compare. It just blows you away.
What?
I think they're not trying to replace a computer, at least not yet.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, so it's more of like the Apple environment. What can we do, just like the iPad, not
Yeah.
replacing the laptop, what else can we do?
Yeah, it's like when the watch came out. Your watch isn't going to replace your phone or your MacBook or whatever. It's an add-on to the technology that you already have, and you can take it to the next level.
Yeah, but when the watch came out, it was a luxury, it was sold as a luxury device, right? And that market was actually there. And instead became something that, if you have them, they're great, but not tracking fitness, we got health. And I think those are things that, Apple probably is aware of, that these are possibilities that, think this device can do this, but it wasn't until there was a mass uptake on it, and everybody had it, that we're like, okay, now this is great for working, for doing things, for and adding those additional technologies for our health, where it's my heart rate and whatnot. I think with the Vision Pro, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, I will be in a position of like, okay, it's not that I want that. I feel like I need that, and it's going to fulfill this functional part of my life. Right now, I just see it as once again as a luxury device for mostly personal entertainment. But I think that would this tool that we.
I have a question. So I've never tried, right? So if you put it on, you see what you see, right? But then does it, if you wanted to like, is there like thing where like, I want to be in Mount Everest? Does it like, turn into my?
Yeah.
It does.
Okay,
so like it's basically, I mean, like it does have the VR capabilities in some sense, right?
Yes.
So then it's like any extreme conditions, like that would be the use case, right? Like a condition in which it's either like really, really hostile or like really, really difficult to get to. Any work involving that would fit into that category, right?
Yeah, one of the things they were showing in the videos was like the sidelines of the NFL and the ball coming right at you. They were showing you in the middle of a elephant or rhino charging at you, and they're just showing you how that immersiveness looks like in it. But yeah, so anything.
Does that require a special capturing device to?
So anything with spatial computing. So the iPhone, I think the 15.
had the spatial computing video.
So like anybody can have an iPhone capture in that format.
So it will do regular video, and it does do like a portrait. You can, if you take portrait pictures, so back to when portrait pictures started, those will show up like a portrait almost in 3D, but it's the spatial video on the new phones that will really do the immersiveness for you.
What I would really like to see is a way for two people, one person to be in someone else's space real time. So whether it's someone down in Antarctica on McMurdo base who has a problem with something that they're not familiar with, they can connect to someone in a more
Safe space.
Yeah, who can then walk them through what they need to do. Or even a consumer level, like what Thumbtack does is a place to hire professionals for your house, so contractors, plumbers. So hey, you've got a leak, it's an emergency, can't come out, but here, why don't you strap on your Apple Vision Pro, and I'll strap on mine, and I can see what's going on and tell you how to fix it.
Yeah, so within the app, and there are a number of them that they've developed, FaceTime, for example, and Zoom, I think, are two. I'm not sure about Teams yet, but they mentioned Zoom for sure. You can actually do a FaceTime or Zoom call with somebody and then show them your surroundings so that they can see within the call. You can also bring up your FaceTime or Zoom call and have your, what they call virtual self to self talking. And then you can have like a chart or a diagram where you can work on and collaborate together. So it's kind of neat with that way.
And I want to piggyback up because I was thinking about this. And imagine you guys have seen the Tesla robot, right?
Yeah.
So imagine that's a remote extension of yourself. So you have a Tesla robot at your cottage. And I just got a notification that there's a smoke alarm. I remotely connect my Vision Pro to that robot, walk around the cottage and figure out what the problem is. Same goes for plumbers and electricians. Hey, can you tap into my robot at this remote location with your Vision Pro and figure out why I have a problem situation? Let's even So I'll extend that even more. I'm at home, I'm preparing for a dinner for friends. I forgot something. I need Amazon Now isn't available yet. So you know what? I'm gonna send my robot into my Tesla, drive to the grocery store. When it gets there, I want a notification and I want my robot to go grab something. Like it's an extension of yourself. Right?
Oh, that's more the AI talk we had last time.
So for me, that's an ideal feature of this.
Have you seen Sunny?
Movies are
Most of the ideas, I think, interior designer to one in their office, for example, how people design space after, or maybe real estate agent. For example, they show like a house.
Yeah, the virtual tours that they do.
Virtual tours to be more immersive.
Yeah.
You know, the product because not every single.
Awesome. Sorry, there's a couple more.
I
Yeah.
think it's from the user experience, like I can see it also having it kind of like a measuring for like a gauge measuring. So you know, like that they showed this video where you can set up timers on your stuff, right, on your range. But you can also have like a smart cabinet that you just have your Vision Pro and it's going to tell you exactly what you're missing there because of the sensors that it may have. So it's the peripheral that also enhances the purpose. It's like an iPhone, you have a case that you want. It's because the peripherals that make it enhances the experience. So it requires a lot of peripherals and atoms.
Yeah.
To make it even greater.
My partner is a retired firefighter, and I'm just thinking of cases where firefighters are maybe to not necessarily be exposed to fire to learn how to deal with.
Yeah.
In her training, she would come home with smelling of carcinogen, like she's in there in Haven, but even training. Why not be able to take that piece out of the picture with not necessarily exposed to fire, and not ever see one of the forest fires, or wildfires. They will have that experience, not necessarily waiting for you don't have to be on scene for that. She's now a paramedic, and then she's got to deal with high acuity calls. Could be a child. You're not always going to have that experience, but it does happen. You need to kind of recollect your training and it's not that so often to be able to have that experience. This is not necessarily waiting for someone to have to wait. Dr. Train taught you. Every so often you will have that part. Both of that training is regular before you actually show.
Yeah, so that's a good one to put fire and maybe police training as well, because the police could use the current police body cams to show what happens in a specific situation and then put that trainee in that situation without actually physically putting them in a situation. I think the biggest thing that the other demo that they did was a flight simulator demo for like Boeing, where they put you in the cockpit and they went through like a checklist, and they only had in the demo, they only had 2 items to check off, but it showed you, you know, check 1, do this, check 2, do this, and it would highlight the controls and you had to go and check it. So I think any industry that does training, high intensity training, you could definitely use this for sure. Anybody else?
I just have one about less intensive firefighters, but with the memories that you can create with the peripherals of microchips and pro, I imagine, you know, I'm like an event like in the area and having a crew of people there, like the wedding fighters, produce the event for you, and you're able to do that. Experience, you know, that in a way that you couldn't do before because you're. Cool.
It is all great suggestions. So the other thing I'll mention too is I asked Apple directly if it would be possible to get the Mac admins to come in and do the exercise, and they said no. Essentially, what they said is if you're a company that is interested, you reach out to them directly and you go to their briefing center. And I think it's because they wanted it in a very controlled environment in their office. The equipment stays there. They don't take it out of their office. And I think they want you to come there to do their briefing because of all the interchangeable parts that they have to interchange and prepare for you.
You can also work through Jump. We can set that up for anyone that is interested, if your company is interested in it.
Yeah, definitely. Talk to Jump. If you're a CDW customer, talk to us at CDW. Reach out to me on Slack as well. And we can work with Apple for you as well. Sorry, Carlos, you.
Oh, yeah, they want to customer experience. They mentioned that they might take up some of the demos and put on other ones because they are more, you know, better suited for those products.
They also told me that generally they're going to limit the demo, the number of people to 4, just simply because they need 4 Apple people to be there, 1 for each person, to make sure that everything is working properly and that they train you how to do it. So what I did mine, it was just me and my teammate Carl, and I think they had a problem with my headset getting through the initial enrolls, but he got a little bit ahead of me. So they need sort of 4 people to keep going through the parts, and then we just kind of caught up and stuff. So.
Not as futuristic or as far forward thinking, but I have one user that has one today. It's based in New York. ACC's using it as a replacement for Whitestick monitor.
Yeah.
He's sitting in front of the MacBook Pro keyboard, and he has a separate trackpad, and likes it as a focused workplace for concentrated work. I need to turn everything else off around me. I'm in my virtual space with my Google Doc that I need to write and some background music and yeah, and just can go to.
I could definitely see it being really good for a coder to bring up in a bigger screen. Like I have a 27-inch iMac at home, but sometimes it's not enough if you're looking at like a lot of lines of code. So being able to put this up there, then zoom in like basically your whole environment, the code might make it easier to find errors or troubleshoot or whatever.
Imagine being inside of your Okta workflow. That would be fantastic. Like being inside the garbage file of a Gibson.
Anything else? Any kind of, like I said, any business application that you can think of?
Extreme confidentiality.
Okay.
We're working on documents that no one else could see. You've got it.
Oh yeah, privacy within your Vision Pro. Yeah, that's good. As opposed to the privacy screens on your monitors and stuff in an office. That's pretty good. Anybody else? That's a pretty good list there that we made here. Like I said, I'm going to take this to Apple and give it to the guys and just have them explore this list. And I think basically, again, my interpretation from them is very cool. They want to see the innovation, and I think they want to see what other people can imagine, as opposed to just the couple people at Apple imagining what they can use it for. And I think they have an integration partner for this as well. So if there's a company that wants to write an app, they have this integration partner that will help build the app and integrate it and everything. One of the cool things that they showed was an architecture drawings. So they had this company that will, and I forget the app name. Do you remember the app name for the architecture one? It was a specific one where you could take AutoCAD drawings and import it in, and they will convert it into virtual reality, spatial computing for you. So you can visually see everything as opposed to just flat on your screen or the 3D models on your screen. So that's very cool that they have that as well.
Can you tell them this list was a good start, but if they provide us units, we could give them a more robust?
Yeah, unfortunately, they're going to say buy one, and it has to be customized to every person.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is there's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
It's extremely customized from them.
That's okay, they can customize for all. We can send them where it's next.
Yeah, they took me, I don't know if you got to see their back room where
Yeah,
it's.
the active download is called Vision Pro Fit. Vision Pro Fit, and you just go to that.
But their back room, they had like a cabinet about this wide, this deep, with all the different lenses for left and all the different lenses for right that they customize each one for, and then all the headsets and then all the foam pads, and it's quite incredible how much customization they have on it.
Just tell them just what to get for free. That's the free trial.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually, as soon as I saw this, I recommended a customer, a client that I used to work for many years ago. So Brandon and I and our sales guy at CDW are working to go to that client and do a little pitch to have them come in and see, because they were a government agency that was first Office 365 in Canada, first on Skype for Business, first in AWS workspace, AWS. First on MacBooks, first on a lot of stuff for a government agency, not first for a public agency, but for a government agency. The first to get the Skype and link boards in Canada when they first came out. We had 5 of them on order before they hit the public streets. So that was pretty high end there at the time. So I think he would see this as very innovative to add in. And they're a property assessment company for Ontario, so Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. So we're going to see how that goes. Get them to come in.
Now, how interchangeable is it for like within a team, like team?
It's not.
Yeah,
It's not.
That's what I was kind of talking about, that there's no one size fits all, so it's customized. You just pass it on to Judy, and she's gonna put it on, so it's a big difference. Right.
And I think with you, not to pick on you, but you specifically with glasses, it's a completely different lens kit as well. I think he can wear the glasses, right? Or does he have to take them off and measure his eyes?
Yeah, no, I took my glasses off, so it's, the machine scanned my prescription.
Yeah.
And they pre-configured the lens.
That's right.
My prescription, so I see sharp.
So they had these machines there in the briefing center, and they took your glasses, put it under the machine scanned the lenses to get your prescription, and then recommended the.
They have like a 0.5, whatever magnification is.
Yeah.
Have that specific lens which sits inside the machine.
Yeah, and then they put that so that you don't have to wear your eyeglasses and you can see perfectly in Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I see what you're saying, like if you bought 5 and share them across 15 people, you know, it's actually not a bad investment, but Apple hasn't designed that.
Generally speaking, could you do it if you had a couple people? Yeah, you might be able to, but I don't know what the experience would be like. Because my eyes wouldn't, if you have 2 people, for example, that have 20/20 vision, maybe similar headset or head sizes and stuff, maybe it would work.
Sure, yeah. We, some correct me if I'm wrong here, but, I thought there was something on the newest betas for it, coming out in the fall, at least allow, all the guests, user, and that's what it's kind of at least.
Yeah, there is a guest user, I think, already in there.
You have it?
Yeah, and you could, like, the lenses and the.
That's good, if you
light
wanted to
seal
swatch that over to me.
magnet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in theory, you could buy 1 unit and everyone gets their own lenses and their own light seal. And you could do it that way, but that's relying on guest mode, and so much of the experience relies on your Apple account.
Yes.
And so that would be the pain point. Because it's like an iPod strapped to your face. It really is designed for one user.
From an MDM point of view, apparently it's registered like an iPad. And what the basic stuff is there like an iPad. Is what they explain.
So multi-user becomes like that.
So that's awesome. And that's a good list. And like I said, I'm gonna go back to Apple and provide that with them. But yeah, reach out to Jump, reach out to CDW, or reach out to your Apple account reps, get that set up, go check it out. It is well worth checking it out, and seeing where your company might see use for it. Before everybody takes off and stuff, we want to get a picture. We're going to do it back here. The guys over here are going to clear off the monitor and whatnot. And then Alex.
Yeah.
Take 2 minutes here, then we'll call everybody up.